Hey guys, welcome back to the channel where we review anything and everything. And today we are getting into, and I know everyone's going to love this, another verse comparison of the Metriacanthosaurus on the left hand side versus the Carnotaurus on the right hand side. Now, obviously, these are two different types of figures in terms of scale and size, but we like doing this anyway because you guys might either be in the debates between wanting to buy one or the other, or you just like seeing how they compare and stack up to each other. Now, I already have done previous reviews on both of these dinosaurs before, so what we're going to really just kind of get into is just really analyzing the aspects of the dinosaurs themselves and just a couple of points between them that we're going to compare and just kind of see how they stack up. Now, just keep in mind that Metriacanthosaurus came out a little bit beforehand. So the Carnotaurus is the later figure. So starting off, just talking about both in general, the Carnotaurus, now the general specs or size of a Carnotaurus is roughly about 20, around 26 to 28 feet long. And this one falls into about the scale equivalent of 28 feet long. And the height of a Carnotaurus is supposed to be about 11 feet tall. And this one scales within that almost exactly. I don't remember the exact measurements that I said before, but you guys can look that up in the previous review. Matter of fact, give me a moment because I'm going to give that to you now. All right, you guys, because I don't like leaving things out there where we're not getting our information. So it's about 6.5. I think I remember saying that before. So I'll tell you right now what that equates to. 10.4 feet in terms of the scale. So you see he's right on point with the 11 feet height. And the Metriacanthosaurus, because I just recently had reviewed him, I can tell you that his natural figure scale should be 20. Funny enough, he's actually supposed to be as long as Carnotaurus at about 26 feet long, but he's only 6 feet tall is what he's supposed to be as far as his height. But measuring from his hip, he comes out to about 7.2 feet tall, and his length comes out to 20 feet long based on that scale that we use. And that scale is based on 3/4 inch figures being 6 feet tall. So you could see here that they do stack up pretty well to their real life counterpart in terms of their measurement and size. We're going to put them side by side just to have a sense of the difference in size. And I think that it's very cool that you have, these two different types of scales. And obviously, you introduce even bigger ones that go beyond this as well, like the Tyrannosaurus Rex. But it's nice that you have two different sized um, different sized dinosaurs in the lineup, whereas they could have easily just have been lazy and said, we're going to make Metriacanthosaurus the exact same size as Carnotaurus and leave them at that, or have made Carnotaurus, since Carnotaurus came secondly, made them the same size as Metriacanthosaurus and just thought no one's going to care or notice. But they didn't do that. So I think that is actually a really great thing. And I know many people have stated that same fact and argument as well. Now, because Carnotaurus is a bigger dinosaur and a bigger figure, he actually has additional articulation on his tail, which on my figure, the weight of that end, you can see how that slow drip, it doesn't hold. It's still fine just sitting like that in its resting position, but it doesn't hold in such a way where this one maintains its kind of angle that it stays in. So something just to be note, everyone might be a little different. And you can see, I love the proportions of how the Carnotaurus, his neck is so thick comparison to Metriacanthosaurus, which is very interesting at the fact that, and I'm going to bring in Roland for scale. It just, the scaling on both these figures look nice because you could see that while the Carnotaurus has just such larger features for his size, you know it still falls within scale because he's smaller than the Tyrannosaurus Rex. But here he's much larger than Metriacanthosaurus. With Metriacanthosaurus, the weight of a Metriacanthosaurus is supposed to be about 1.1 tons, and I believe Carnotaurus is pushing in that almost 2 ton range. So you definitely could see that playing out here. So let's go over a few points because this is a comparison slash verse video. So one thing I'm going to say is overall, I'm going to automatically tell you that I think that the details of the Carnotaurus is amazing in terms of that matte paint, where Metriacanthosaurus, his paint job is nice and colorful, but it's a little more shiny. Not by a lot. It's not shiny, shiny, but it definitely is a little bit more. You can see how the light plays off of it there. A little couple of points where it looks a little shiny. And then if I bring Carnotaurus up to the camera, it's definitely a lot more matte. You don't have all that kind of shininess going on there. Now, starting off in the head area, both of them have nice heads with nice detail. Carnotaurus has a bit more detail. We're going to bring Metriacanthosaurus up to the forefront. He has his nice scaling, and then he has his teeth also. Though I think that the teeth, they are rubber, so they feel nice. I think that if this figure came after the Carnotaurus, they would have made these teeth a little smaller. Now, I don't think that Metriacanthosaurus has really, in real life, would be bigger teeth than a Carnotaurus, but they did do the teeth on the Carnotaurus a little bit better, because you could see that they're smaller and more fitting to his mouth size. And I'm not knocking Metriacanthosaurus, but in this situation here, Carnotaurus kind of wins it in that area. Now, also, too, there's nothing wrong with Metriacanthosaurus's eyes. They're nicely done and nicely painted. But here, Carnotaurus has glass eyes, which I've heard some people say they're not sure if they're a fan of it or not, but I think it came out very well. Um, and I really like it. Now, when it comes to the body, I really think that Carnotaurus, and I don't know if this is just specifically how Carnotaurus is, or if all dinosaurs are supposed to be like this and they just don't do it with other dinosaurs. This is, for the most part, and let me try to adjust Metriacanthosaurus as best as I can to see if I can mimic this a little bit, but I can't even really. This is about his normal stance on this figure here. Um, his body on Metriacanthosaurus, I'm going to show you this difference that I'm looking at, and you'll see what I'm talking about of what stands out for Carnotaurus, which I like him so much. His body, now this is a general normal pose. Yeah, we could make the legs, droop down a little more so he stands a little lower, but generally speaking, just looking at the body and not considering the legs, the body is very much going straight across. And even the lower body, you have this kind of shape where it's like straight across. You see his belly here, and his leg kind of fits in there a bit, but it's generally speaking just straight across, which is fine. And that's the way we always got dinosaur figures. And there's nothing wrong with that. And even the T-Rex figure is probably less dynamic than Metriacanthosaurus in that he has more of a round belly kind of dynamic. And I don't have him in front of me right now. And even though I don't have the T-Rex in front of me right now, it generally speaking, like that's the dynamic of how they look, just kind of similar to this. And I think the T-Rex is actually a little less dynamic than this. But when you look at the Carnotaurus, it doesn't reflect it. It's hard to see it when I have him in this position right here. But his body, even though it does come across, they really make the dynamic to make that when I stand him up, you'll see it more. Now, maybe it's just because of the way that he's standing. I'm not sure, but it really has this. Let me pull him back. You can see it more. You can see it almost has this really kind of dynamic where this piece right here is very subtle, but the top area here is a little lower in height than the top of the hip bone. And it's almost like this part curves in very deep. There's a very deep indentation going into here for the belly, for the leg to kind of fit in there. But the belly here goes deep into there. The center area of the belly right here comes very outward. So it has this very curved dynamic. If you're looking at it straight on, it would look almost like that, where the edges of the belly kind of come out, and it looks so much more realistic, the dynamic of it. And there's just a very deep indentation going in here where the leg would go, and you could see that roundness right there on the belly, and it all comes down to this area. It's a very subtle thing that you probably wouldn't in small detail notice, but as the whole, when you look at the figure as a whole, it really stands out to bring it to life. It really looks so much more realistic when you look at that. And look, this is a perfect angle right here where you can see that how he angles slightly down. Now, like I said, part of that could just be the way he's posed, but the way I have him posed is for the most part kind of the way he came out of the box without too much work. Now, I'm trying to get Metriacanthosaurus to stand similar, but he can't because the way they have his belly, it blocks the legs from going any further up. So I can't even mimic that general slant stance like that. I can't really even do that. And it's not about his limitations in articulation. It's about the dynamic that they chose to make his stomach area. Because like I said, when you're looking at Metriacanthosaurus now, and most dinosaurs that they do always have this, they're more angled in the more incline, or maybe completely vertical, or maybe, I'm sorry, completely horizontal, or maybe slightly inclined. But the thing about it is, it's definitely not where you have that extra weight tipping downwards, and the high point is here, and then the low point comes a little more further this way, which you can see right there in the background with the Carnotaurus. You see that the body comes slightly angled down, all that weight from the belly, the details in the belly, the indentation of the belly area from the leg, and then from there, as it comes down, you have the arc of the neck coming upwards. And it just has a very lifelike dynamic pose to that, because that's how you could imagine it being. The hip, the top of the hip and the hip bone holds all the weight high. There's a gradual decline because of all that weight in the belly and the stomach, and then his neck points slightly upwards. You see all that dynamic, angling. That right there is something that when you look at Metriacanthosaurus, and I'm not knocking Metriacanthosaurus, but this is a comparison, you could see that you're not getting that kind of dynamic. It's just really straight across, and then he goes kind of up. It just doesn't have it. Even I try to get it back a little bit, him a little further in the camera, so you can see the body shaping. But it really, this is the height. This is where his top of his I'm sorry, hip bone. It literally comes like straight across here. There's no slightly dipping. And then obviously the head hangs a little bit higher, but you don't have that point where the neck dips, like the body comes a little low, and then the neck has to come upwards like the Carnotaurus. So that dynamic is just amazing. I think that's what makes the Carnotaurus look so good, because it's really a lifelike kind of design to him. And anyone who's familiar with a lot of the new showings with the T-Rex and Discovery Channel or whatnot, they have those huge fat bellies, and it causes their front to kind of droop a little bit more, similar to the way they do the Carnotaurus. And it's just amazing. Um, the legs, both of them have great legs in terms of tiny feet and just good proportionate feet. Though I will say that Metriacanthosaurus, maybe it's my figure, he just feels a little bit more like, I don't want to say stiff, but his legs feel like they're not resting specifically the way they should. But it's not a big thing that you would notice. But when you look at small details like the Carnotaurus, it just feels a little different. And yeah, let's see. And that's really the main thing. They both have the same kind of articulations all over in the arms and whatnot. Obviously, Metriacanthosaurus has longer arms than Carnotaurus because Carnotaurus naturally had small arms, though this figure could have had smaller arms. But I think the only reason why they made them the way they were is because they wanted to give them those 2 points of articulation rather than giving them 1 point of articulation, when in actuality, the size of his arms probably could have almost been just this piece here, the forearm area down to the hands and the fingers, just be almost that. And that's all they kind of would have needed because that's how small they are. Um, and with that, you guys, we're going to conclude this video. Like I said, they're both great figures. They're both amazing, great detail, whatnot. Obviously, one came out before the other one, but I definitely think that the Carnotaurus, if we're comparing them as a verse, the Carnotaurus is going to win. But if it's just comparison, just to make comparison for comparison's sake, it's not really battling each other. They're both great figures. But the Carnotaurus has now set a new bar, and I hope that all the Hammond collection ones from this point on get this treatment. And then I hope also too the main line gets some of this treatment too, which is the case because the I forget the name of the long neck, the Mementosaurus figure actually has some Hammond collection qualities in it. So maybe you might see other main lines start getting some premium qualities as well. And sometimes that happens. But generally speaking, the Carnotaurus has set a new bar, a new standard. And I feel that a lot of people will have so far in different, review videos, make comment that it looks nice, it looks good. But I don't think they realize the reason why it looks good. Yes, the paint is very nice too, but it's the attention to detail to the actual, either the actual dinosaur, or at least the dinosaur, the way he was in the movie, and really have this very deep attention to detail on a more lifelike body design where you see how the weight drags on it, and how the body would actually realistically have gravity affect it and how it would stand. And I think that's what puts it over the edge that a lot of people probably aren't able to articulate in words, because it just looks nice when you look at it. You just don't really understand why is it that it looks so good. But when you really pick it apart, a nice little comparison video like this one, you start to really realize why it's actually looks so good, those little details. And I do hope they put that in a lot of the newer figures. So, any comments you guys have below as far as, what your thoughts are, you know, what are your thoughts in terms of this comparison? What's your favorite Hammond collection dinosaur figure right now? Just your thoughts in general on the whole line, or whatever the case is. What do you expect? What are some changes that you hope come along the way and everything? They're doing a good job so far. And like I said before, link's going to be in the description for you guys to purchase these on Amazon, though the Carnotaurus has not yet revealed himself on Amazon at the time of posting this video, even though they say that he was on there at one point in time. So maybe Amazon will bring him back. Metriacanthosaurus is on there, so you can look for him. Like I said, affiliated link is going to be in the description below. And as always, you guys comment, like, share, and subscribe. I'll catch you guys in the next video.